The sun hung low over the vast savannas of West Africa in the 16th century, casting a golden hue that painted the landscape. In the small but vibrant village of Kintana, life thrived amid the gentle rustle of the baobab trees and the soft murmur of the rivers. Here, tribes lived in relative peace, their days woven with cultural traditions and communal bonds. Yet, unbeknownst to them, the arrival of European traders would herald a tempest that would change the face of their world forever: the transatlantic slave trade. In the year 1500, the bustling shores bore witness to profound change. Initially, the exchanges were rooted in mutual respect, villagers trading cocoa, cloth, and handmade wares for metal tools and trinkets. But as the Portuguese expanded their reach, the quest for more than mere commodities ignited an insatiable greed. The transformation from trade to entwined suffering began to take shape like a deadly vine wrapped around the village of Kintana. Among the raiders, a man named Carlos emerged. With cunning eyes and a heart devoid of compassion, he grew increasingly brazen in his tactics. He feigned friendship and often visited Kintana, adorned in silks that hinted at wealth. "Look how your people prosper under my guardianship," he would declare, never revealing the kernel of dread that lay at the heart of his dealings. However, Kwame's spirited resistance proved formidable. Even when chained, the strength of his voice rallied through the darkness of despair. His wisdom spoke of unity, a call to arms against the encroaching traders. "Our ancestors do not sleep while we are awake," he would implore, urging his people to remember their bonds of kinship. "Together, we will thwart this darkness." As the Portuguese began exploiting the nascent slave trade, families shattered. Mothers clung to their children, only to be torn apart by greed. Those who tried to resist were met by iron fists, their cries swallowed by the winds. Nia, a skilled healer in the village, pleaded for peace every night, crafting potions that might heal the broken souls returning from the raiders. She recognized that the wounds were not just physical; the spirit endured a grievous injury, shackled beneath the weight of dread and uncertainty. Witnessing the immediate pain of her people ignited a fire within Nia. She gathered the afflicted, stitching their wounds and soothing their fears with stories of bravery and resilience. "We are not merely bodies," she reminded them, her voice cloaked in warmth. "We are a lineage, and it is our love that will propel us onward." With each passing day, the whispers of the raiders intensified from a creeping murmur to a roaring storm. Determined to protect her community, Nia resolved to train with the village's warriors. The youth began to harness their strength, fostering legacies of resistance long lost to the encroaching trade. They prepared for battles not just against captors but against the chains of hopelessness that threatened to bind their spirits. In the late 1400s, shadows began to creep over the lively markets of Kintana as Portuguese explorers ventured down the African coast, bringing with them tales of gold and riches. The first encounters were marked by innocent trade, textiles for spices, food for trinkets. Yet, the allure of such wealth soon cast a darker shadow. Realizing the potential profit to be gained from human lives, the Portuguese shifted their focus. By the early 1500s, the horror began. Coastal communities were raided, families torn apart so that fathers could hear their children's cries no more and mothers could only clutch empty arms. Kwame, the respected chieftain of Kintana, had always been a beacon of strength for his people. But one fateful day, while tending to his fields, he noticed smoke rising in the distance, a signal that something was amiss. As he approached the village, he encountered the remnants of what was once a peaceful gathering. Bodies lay sprawled on the ground, the air thick with the scent of despair. It was then that Kwame spotted the ship anchored offshore, its sails billowing like the ghost of captured souls. A trading expedition had come not just for goods, but for the very essence of life itself. "Run, my people," he shouted, his voice hoarse with fear. But it was too late. Captured and shackled, Kwame and many villagers found themselves powerless against European traders, who exchanged promises of wealth for the rich lives they would take. As the 17th century dawned, the insatiable demand for slaves surged, driven by the burgeoning plantation economy in the Americas. English, French, and Dutch traders joined the Portuguese in the horrific enterprise, setting up trading forts along the coast and cage-like ships that would become synonymous with misery. Nia, the village healer and a woman of skill and wisdom, witnessed the destruction of her people firsthand. She cared for those left traumatized and grieving the loss of their loved ones, often pouring libations to the earth, praying for their return. "May the spirits of our ancestors protect us," she would murmur, wrapping her arms around the frightened children, ignoring the despair creeping into her heart. As traders lured villagers into false security with shiny textiles and rum, Nia's practice of healing became a sanctuary of hope. Still, she could not stem the tide. Night after night, men and women were taken, and those who returned spoke of horrors that sent chills down spines. The tales complicating her dreams filled her with determination to heal, though there was little she could do. "I fear for our future," she confided in Kwame's daughter, Oma, a spirited young woman trained in Abo traditions. "Our elders are being taken, and soon, they will come for you." Oma, with her fiery spirit, replied, "We must stand and fight, Nia. We must warn others." And fight, they would. But for now, the shadow of trade thickened, darkening the skies above Kintana, a storm of human sorrow set to devastate their lives. As the years rolled on, whispers turned to cries of rebellion across the ocean. The stories of those who fought relentlessly ignited a glimmer of hope among the enslaved souls. Uprisings on plantations became more frequent, with individuals determined to reclaim their stolen futures. The news of Nat Turner's rebellion in Virginia spun through the air, a beacon of possibility. Back home in Kintana, Kwame's son, Kofi, had grown to a young warrior, embodying the spirit of resistance that coursed through his veins. Under the moonlight, he rallied his community, calling to arms those still hungry for freedom. "We must no longer sit idle while our brothers and sisters are taken. We are warriors, and together, we shall fight." The villagers gripped their crude spears, hearts racing. Yet, the reality that lay in wait was grim. Despite their fierce determination, they faced an insurmountable force, European traders fortified with firearms and the belief of their superiority. Amidst the chaos, Nia vowed to use her skills to protect her own. She gathered herbs that could heal, concocting potions to aid those who returned from battles unscathed, or to ease the pain of those who had to face the dark night of despair. As the late 18th century approached and the Atlantic trade began to draw dire attention, the tide of morality began to shift in Europe. Abolition movements emerged, fueled by the relentless courage of individuals who dared to stand against the brutality of slavery. Figures like William Wilberforce and Oloda Equiano, a former slave himself, advocated fervently, their eloquence depicting the horror of the enslaved experience. Every pamphlet they published chipped away at the foundation of slavery, slowly swaying public opinion. "The world will see the truth," Kofi shouted during village gatherings, energized by the movement that spread like wildfire. "We must keep the spirit of resistance alive. We owe it to our ancestors." In 1807, Britain officially outlawed the transatlantic slave trade, and while it was a significant victory, the shadows of the past still loomed large. Those still bound in chains remained captive as colonial powers crept ever further into the heart of Africa, seizing land and resources, their ambitions cascading like a relentless tide. Though the trade faced mounting opposition, the struggle of those enslaved persisted. Hope floated between families like whispers in the night as they shared tales of bravery. A new generation rose, constantly weaving the fabric of resilience and dreams of freedom. In 1865, the 13th Amendment in the United States abolished slavery. Still, the remnants of the trade left scars that would take decades to heal back home. As colonial powers intensified their efforts, the people continued to search for ways to reclaim their identities, and whispers of independence began to surface. Years of struggle, pain, and resistance converged in the hearts of Kofi, Oma, and Nia, who inspired their village with a sense of belonging and pride that couldn't be extinguished. "We shall not forget what was taken from us," Kofi vowed, leading them into clandestine meetings where they shared stories and rituals that honored their ancestors. Finally, as the decades turned into centuries, the impact of the slave trade persisted, yet so too did the spirit of the people. Organizations emerged, advocating for healing, remembrance, and cultural reclamation. Kwame's descendants formed coalitions, turning memories of pain into nurturers of hope. Every year, a ceremony was held in the heart of Kintana, gathering villagers to celebrate their ancestors' strength, resilience, and spirit. "We honor those who came before us," Nia declared, her voice echoing under the stretched branches of the baobab tree. "Their struggle paved the way for us, and we will never forget." Around the fire, songs of old filled the air as they danced to rhythms that connected them to their ancestors. They shared stories, weaving the past with the present, reminding one another that while shackles may bind bodies, they cannot capture the spirit. Kofi, now an elder, enchanted the next generation with tales of courage. "Never let anyone tell you that you are less than you are," he exclaimed, his voice deep and resonant. "In our blood runs the story of warriors. Chains of the Past chronicles the harrowing experiences of a community who endured trial after trial but never knelt beneath the weight of despair. Their voices sang through generations, reminding each other that suffering spurred growth and resilience. The legacy of those who fought continues to inform present struggles for justice and equality. The echoes of Kwame, Nia, and Kofi reverberate through the hearts of many. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of crimson and indigo, the elders of Kintana gathered once more, hands entwined, united by love and history. They were not just the children of the soil, they were the living testament to the unwavering spirit of an African heritage that refused to be extinguished. To understand their past was to embrace the strength to mold a hopeful future, a future where the chains of oppression faded, replaced by the golden threads of freedom, unity, and boundless potential.